Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Okay, little late on this posting. I know I had kind of a big weekend. I didn't sleep between Friday and Saturday because I was standing on a line, and at the end of that line was eventually Mr. Kevin Smith. Best thing of my whole weekend, man. Second time now I've met him. Just such a genuinely wonderful human being. It's always a pleasure when you get to spend a couple minutes talking with him. Just such a cool guy. And then I had plans all weekend long. So by the time I got home last night, I was a little late in watching the episodes. By the time I finished watching it, because it was an hour and 20, I was late. So here we are, man. It's Monday morning, following a Game of Thrones episode, and we are getting ready to dive into this bad boy. So why don't you pull up a chair, man, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in, spoiler-filled, into episode 4 of season 8 from Game of Thrones. We're coming off of arguably one of the largest episodes in Game of Thrones history, in The Long Night from last week, where, we got a 75-minute battle, but outside of that, I'm big on character connections, and because there's minimal to no dialogue in that episode, and there's very few moments of downtime where we can kind of not be in the middle of the action and then throw in the anticlimactic ending for the Night King, which I just recently talked about. You come into this episode, like, what do you do, man? Like, you just lost half your army. You're kind of recovering from that. So where do we start? We start with the funeral. And one of the things that I didn't think worked last week was the emotional connections. When some of our big boys went down, Theon and Jorah and Lady Mormont, the emotional pull wasn't quite as hard. We start with the funeral of all of these soldiers, man. And what's really nice is everybody kind of gets a moment with somebody, Sam lights Ed's, pyre. They're burning all the bodies still. Dany lights Jorah's. Sansa lights Theon's. Grey Worm, lights one of the Dothrakis. I don't remember who Jon ends up with, but they light them all on fire, and while they're doing that and they're getting ready to do it, you kind of get a moment with each of the big players from last week, and that it didn't feel good, but you felt the connection on that. You felt the emotion a little bit more, and I thought it was a really, really good way to open this episode. And then you go into the following, we won the battle, let's have a party, where everyone's just kind of recovering and drinking and eating. And unlike some of the other post-battle wins we've had with our main characters, this one was very, very sullen. Not much going on. And then, Gendry, of course, is looking for Arya. My man he's got bad for our girl. And he gets up to kind of leave, and Dany stops him and goes, Gendry, right? And then says, you're Gendry Baratheon, Robert Baratheon's last, living son. Somebody who, is responsible for why Dany was never, in King's Landing or on the Iron Throne to begin with. And you're like, what is she gonna do? She don't do nothing bad, man. She's still trying to win over people in the north. And even though Gendry is not a northerner, I think the people who fought with Gendry understand, who he is and why he's there. And she goes, since all of your family's pretty much dead now, who is the Lord of Storm's End? Anybody know? No, nobody knows. I think it should be Gendry. You should be, the Lord. And he's like, I'm not. I'm a bastard, And Dany goes, no, you're not. You're Gendry Baratheon because I say it. And she restores his actual last name, and makes him a lord. And you're at that moment, that sullenness melts away, turns into a party. What an awesome event, man! It's one of the first things I tell you. This episode got me a few times, man. And this was the first one. I was just like, check it out.
You are Lord Gendry Baratheon of Storm's End, the lawful son of Robert Baratheon, because that is what I have
made. To Lord Gendry Baratheon, Storm's End.
So there you go, man. Right, like you're just kind of caught off guard. You're like, wow, what a powerful, awesome moment for Gendry. And what does he want to do? He wants to celebrate and find his girl. And he goes and he finds Arya, who's out there celebrating by just shooting arrows, man. You know, right away she's telling you, I'm not a lady. Right at the beginning, man. Like at this interaction, of course, Gendry is just so caught up in the fact that they didn't die and that he's in love with Arya, and he asks her to marry him now that he's a lord. And she goes, "That's awesome, Gendry, and I'm sure any woman would be lucky to have you, but I'm not a lady. That's not me." Love when they bring that line back, man. And from there, you know, we end up seeing Arya kind of break Gendry's heart a little bit after a really passionate kiss to open their scene together. But then she ends up leaving, and she doesn't even go back to the party. Never goes to the party, and then leaves in the morning with the Hound. So Arya, I've said this to all my buddies. I'm like, I want a TV show that's Arya and the Hound, like a buddy cop show. And they're off kind of moseying on their way south alone together. So I'm excited to see what that is like next week and where they pop in. But when we do go back to the party, it has become a party, man. It's like Dany does one real awesome thing and boom, everybody's spirits are lifted. And we get a lot of wonderful moments. And I do a heck of a lot of this.
Got this. I didn't have much. Steak.
You can touch me. I'm not afraid of wild
I laughed so much during this because there are so many wonderful moments. I love angry fighting Tormund. I love drunk Tormund even better, man. The stuff that we get from Tormund in this scene, when he's drinking with Jon, he calls him a madman. He's like, "You rode on a dragon, you got on a dragon. Who gets on a dragon? A madman and a king." You know, he's just wiling out, man. He's having so much fun, and he's trying to get Jon to chug an entire like mammoth tooth, it kind of looks like, filled with, you know, ale or wine or whatever it is that they're drinking. And Jon's like, "I'm not gonna do it." And Tormund does it. And almost every time I'm laughing at Tormund. Same when he finally runs into Brienne and he comes all in and he's like, "Brienne, we've won." He's like, you know, and she just is like, I'm leaving. And we'll get to what she's coming from. And as she starts to leave, Tormund starts to follow, and Jaime gets up and kind of stops him, and then he follows. And Tormund goes from like happy-go-lucky to like heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken that Jaime stole his girl. And how do we get there? Well, you got to get, you know, Brienne a little sauced up. And how do you do that? Tyrion and Jaime hanging out with Brienne. It starts with Jaime and Brienne drinking, and then Tyrion kind of comes over from the main table. And when we come back to them, at one point they are asking questions, and you realize Tyrion is playing his game again, and this time successfully. Everybody is buying in and playing and drinking, and you can see, like, Brienne is smiling so much. She's having so much fun. And it was awesome to watch that. And then, you know, it kind of goes to the place where, you know, things are, you know, they're saying they're getting some things right, something wrong. And Tyrion finally goes, "You're a virgin. You've never slept with a man or a woman." And, you know, it kind of kills the mood. And Brienne gets up. It's like, "I have to pee," and goes to leave. And that's when Jaime gets up, stops Tormund, follows her. And then Jaime and Brienne get it on. Oh, dude, I was so excited for Brienne and Jaime, man. It's one of those moments, again, one of those fan service moments that we've been waiting for. You know, we've kind of seen this relationship build, and we've seen the way, you know, Brienne certainly looks at Jaime, and every once in a while when Jaime looks at her, you're like, this should happen, and it does. Unfortunately, we ain't about happy endings in Game of Thrones. And the following day, or toward the end of the episode, rather, after something happens, we'll get there in a minute, you know, a raven comes, delivers it to Sansa. Sansa is talking it over with their headmaester there, and Jaime kind of follows and overhears. And he's like, what's going on? And when Sansa tells him what's going on, Jaime decides to not stay in Winterfell anymore. The army starts going south, and Jaime decides to stay behind as a guest of the Lady of Winterfell, Sansa, at the behest of Brienne. And he does. He stays, and you can tell they've obviously been sharing time together. But after he hears what happened, Jaime's got to go south, because that's Jaime. And he leaves, and heartbreaking. Oh my gosh, man! Like, rip your heart out. You know, this character in Brienne that you love so much, to watch her get gutted the way she does. Oh man, and to hear her cry, which is something we really never seen her do outside of she may have cried, but like when Renly died, but not like out loud emotional burst of tears. And heartbreaking. But Jaime, of course, has to go south. There are things down there that we're gonna need to see Jaime involved in, so maybe Brienne pops up too. We'll certainly see. But when we jump back to our main group and this party, man, fun loving, lots of fun. And I mentioned Tormund kind of saying, Jon was a king, and around that point in time, Dany kind of starts paying attention. And then you can tell Dany is not really happy, because she sees the way people rally around Jon. And clearly what Jon told her last week is eating at her. And after the party, Jon and Dany are Jon's in his room, Dany comes in. They have this emotional, passionate kiss. And you're like, all right, maybe things will be okay with them. And Jon kind of eventually pulls back. And, they even, Benioff and Weiss discussed at the end of the episode too. But like, Dany comes from a family where like, being related to people that you're involved with isn't terribly odd, but it is very, very strange for Jon, and he kind of does hit him, and he kind of pulls away, and that kind of breaks her a little bit. And she says, Jon, I don't know what to do with this. He's like, you're the queen. I bent the knee. I will always bend the knee. You are my queen. I don't know what else I can say or do. And she's like, you cannot say anything. And she's like, if we want this to go, this can go back to what it was before we found out. Just don't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody, because it will eventually lead people to follow you or push you into the throne. He's like, I'm never going to take it. She's like, you'll end up there anyway, because the world will dictate it if too many people find out. So she begs him. She goes, I don't beg. I'm begging you. Don't tell anybody. Of course, Jon, way too honorable, even says to her, he's like, I have to tell my sisters. And you get to that moment, and there's hesitation in Jon. You're like, oh, maybe he's not going to do it. And Bran actually goes, it's your decision. And then he does tell him. We don't get to see him tell them, but we find out real quick, because Sansa kind of watching the dragons fly around as Rhaegar is kind of healing. His wing is all messed up. But, she's kind of up on top of, the castle, and Tyrion comes out to talk to her. And she's not breaking what she's looking at. She's watching the dragons, but she is, you can tell she's messed up with the information that she's received. And, you'd have to think that Arya maybe a little bit, but ultimately doesn't care because she's bouncing. But what she ends up doing is she's talking to Tyrion, and Tyrion's trying to console her, like, we need you to be allies with, Dany. And she's like, Jon's going to be warden of the North. He's like, yeah, but he'll be in King's Landing. You're going to run the North. I would feel better if I felt like you were behind her. And she goes, I can't do that. And Tyrion goes to leave. She goes, Tyrion, what if there's someone better? Of course, once you break the silence once, eventually everyone will find out. And Tyrion finds out, which means he, of course, is going to have a discussion with Varys. Wonderful scene. One of my favorite ones in the entire episode. Because hearing the two of them talk about what this information means, the best part is, like, Varys goes, well, who knows? Tyrion's like, well, them and a couple. He's like, once you're at 8 people, it's no longer a secret. Like, it's going to get out. So how do we deal with this? What do we do? And Varys understands that, yes, Dany, and he's supported Dany, but has also seen that, Dany's one-track mindedness isn't going to be what's best for the realm to get her into the throne. Especially coming off of, everything that's happened as they have to go down. She's like, we're going to rip Cersei out root and stem. And Varys and Tyrion are always like, well, wait, there are people in the capital. Like, we can't just destroy King's Landing because you're going to kill all these people that you're saying you're going to save. So to have Varys and Tyrion having that conversation last night, where they're talking about, well, what do we do with this knowledge? Like, maybe there's a way where we should get Jon onto the throne. And Tyrion even says, like, we're talking treason right now. And Varys is like, look, I want to look out for the realm. And if she is going to go and just run through Cersei, and Cersei, of course, mastermind, has everybody from King's Landing into the Red Keep, opens up the gates, because if they come and attack, thousands of innocent people are going to have to die. And that's going to be Cersei's kind of card in her back pocket. No matter what happens, I tried to protect you. They came to kill you. And you can kind of play ball with that both ways. As Tyrion eventually is able to express to Dany, like, after he has this conversation with Varys, Varys basically is like, I only look out for the realm. So if Jon is the better move, I'm going to try to make sure Jon gets there. Tyrion immediately, goes to Dany and is like, look, we can't just go and destroy it. We have to try to get peace. Ask Cersei to surrender. And Dany is not about that life. And is even less about that life after what happens right after this moment. But they have this conversation, and she's like, I'm not about that, but maybe I should try to do everything I can possibly do to preserve peace. So okay, let's go ask Cersei to surrender. And they're on their way. Jon and the army are on their way, but they're taking the road. Dany's on Drogon and with the fleet, and they get as they're turning a corner, all of a sudden, all of the Golden Company is there, man, on their ships, and it's not just them. Obviously, Yaron and anybody he still has is there, but all the ships have scorpions. Yeah, the dragon-killing scorpions, new and improved from Qyburn. And as they turn, you're kind of watching Dany fly next to Rhaegar, and all of a sudden, the first thing you see is an arrow in the dragon, and then you see the Golden Company, and then another arrow, and then through its head. Dude, I thought watching Viserys die from the Night King's one throw was traumatic. Oh my god, this 10 times worse. Just watch.
Oh no! Nobody was. Oh my god, they've only got one. Oh no! Oh god! Oh jeez! Oh my god! Get out of there, Dany! Oh no!
Like, I still can't. Like, it's what again came out of nowhere, and you had a kind of feeling that if this was gonna be an interesting battle, that Dany maybe was gonna lose the second dragon. But I certainly was not expecting anything like that last night. Last night I was like, this is the setup episode to get us to the next place. I figured in the course of battle, especially because they keep showing the scorpion in the opening credits, focused on the dragon's skull. And you just kind of had a feeling that it was going to happen. I didn't see it coming last night. Holy cow, dude. And then they just keep rattling them off, and they wipe out the entire fleet. And Dany, of course, is on Drogon. After Rhaegar goes down, oh man, dude, she is not happy, and she is going right for Euron, who has her dead. Right, so she's just, and you're like, oh my god, is this gonna be it? And prior, just to that, as you were watching kind of Jon build up and leave with the group, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill Jon, because like Jon is saying goodbye to everybody. He says goodbye to Sam. He says, he has his moment with his sisters and his brother. All this stuff is kind of wrapping up for Jon. I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna get Jon?
Kill Jon.
And I digress. But earlier, we did see Mr. Bronn come back and almost kill Jaime and Tyrion, dude. They had us on the edge of our seats a lot of times thinking some of these big characters were going to die. And basically what Bronn ends up doing is like, I'm hired. I will kill both of you because what have you guys given me? And he reminds Tyrion. Tyrion goes, we made a deal, once. And he's like, yeah, you said if I was ever paid to kill you, you'd pay me double. So he's like, what are you going to do for me, Tyrion? What are you going to do? And Tyrion's like, I'll give you Highgarden. You can have Highgarden. And Jaime's like, no. And then he shoots an arrow past him. And he's like, I will kill you. I don't need both of you to get more than what Cersei's offering. Except the deal kind of leaves. So when you kind of had a build-up where you thought maybe we're going to lose one of those two, then I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, they're wrapping up all of Jon's stories. Are they going to do something crazy? Toward the end of the episode, you start to feel like something's coming. And then Jon rides off and you're like, all right, nothing, no big deal. And right in the middle of nothing going on, we see a dragon go down. in even more brutal fashion than the first dragon. And Dany, is just beelining for Yaron. And you're like, she's going to save Dracarys and she's going to maybe kill Yaron, but they're going to kill Dany now. I'm like on the edge of my seat so much at the end of this episode that we thought was just a setup for next week.
No, that's not smart. Why? No. What are you doing, Dany?
And then Dany does a smart thing, spins, Drogon away and flies off. But once the dragon's out of range, they turn the scorpions on the fleet. And I thought Tyrion was going to die again.
Oh, my... Oh, no! No, not Tyrion. Oh, no!
Tyrion's out there, and the boats are just being destroyed by the arrows, and like two whiz by Tyrion. You're like, oh my god, they're gone. And then he finally jumps in the water, and then I thought we were gonna get one of these like, oh my gosh, this is where the episode ends moments. As the ship he was on is starting to fall apart, the main mast is coming right for Tyrion, who's swimming in the water and goes black. And then just sits on black. And I'm like, that's where we're stopping? That's where the episode's ending? No. It finally comes back up after a few seconds too long, I thought. But it does come back up, and you see everybody getting to shore. And everybody that's on the boats, whoever, didn't get crushed by something or die, makes it to shore. And, you assume is going to meet up with Dany somewhere. She probably took Drogon somewhere where they had probably originally planned to stop. But once everybody's on shore, you realize Missandei's missing. And, Grey Worm had told her to get into a skiff, get out of here. Good old Yaron went and kidnapped her. And you get this moment where Cersei's like, breaker of chains, huh? And you're like, oh no, they have Missandei. So, of course, we go. Dany is like gonna ask for, Cersei to just surrender. This is her shot at peace. And she is not happy, man, because Missandei is kidnapped, and Dany knows better, man. If Cersei's got, her, Missandei's not coming home. And Dany is viscerally pissed the entire end of this episode. She lost another baby, and she lost her best friend. And now you're outside of King's Landing, and you just see what they have left, man. It feels like 25 people. Army-wise, and then Dany and Varys and Tyrion up front. And Tyrion comes out, and Qyburn comes out of the castle. And when you see the castle, Qyburn has lined the entire perimeter of the castle with scorpions. I'm not gonna lie to you, it certainly feels like Cersei's got a lot of the upper hand going into next week. I am nervous for our heroes, and I am scared of what Cersei is got going on. But Qyburn comes out, and Tyrion's like, look, Qyburn, you're a smart guy, I'm a smart guy. We are the only people that can have peace right now. Like, we can avoid any more bloodshed and innocent people dying if you just convince Cersei to give up. Her reign's over. She's not gonna stop us. And Qyburn's like, what? Are you kidding me? Dude, like, you're down to one dragon. And look at what you have in front of you. Cersei wants you guys to surrender. Bend the knee, and we can call this a day. Tyrion knows, I can't do that. He walks right past Qyburn. Everybody arrows up, and you get Cersei to do like one of these hand things. And you're like, oh my god, she's going to go like this, and they're going to kill Tyrion. I thought we were going to lose Tyrion like 3 times in the episode, and eventually she just goes, for whatever reason, man, she can't kill the little brother that she hates so very much. But she also knows, I think she's also not stupid, right? Cersei is very, very smart. There's a reason she's on the Iron Throne, still on the Iron Throne. She does that. Dany's gonna just let loose with the dragon, and you don't know because you're kind of out in the open. But he begs and pleads with her. He's like, look, your reign's over. Just step down, and we can avoid bloodshed. And Cersei's like, F you, dude. I'm on the throne. I don't have to go anywhere. You guys got to get through all of this, and I see you only got one dragon left. I see that you have a very small army. I'm feeling pretty good, so now I'm a chill. And Tyrion immediately, you're just like, oh no. And she turns to the mountain, gives him the sign. Missandei's head right off. Oh, Grey Worm, heartbreaking, man. Dany, And of course, that is basically where we end. Tyrion kind of comes back, and now it's like, all right, that's the declaration of war right there, man. We are getting into this, and we are gonna throw down. So again, a wonderful setup episode to what we would imagine would be a battle next week. It's funny, the previews showed so little. I felt like the previews for next week were even shorter than usual, so hopefully they're saving some really awesome battle stuff. But of course, that's coming. We do see that Jon is going to get back with everybody, so that's the next thing we go to. But again, just like going into episode 3, episode 2 I thought was the strongest of the season. Getting ready to go into episode 5, bringing back the director from episode 3, so I'm figuring there's a battle. I feel like this might be the best episode of the season. I kind of dug it more, because like I said, I'm very character-driven, and I didn't think last week was able to highlight the characters well enough throughout the course of all that awesome action and battling. This one, all it did was just highlight our characters, and then gave you a what the F moment multiple times, man. I was on the edge of my seat like the last 25, 30 minutes of this episode, because you're just in like you're at first sullen, saying goodbye. Then you're upbeat and like, yeah, man, this is great. Like we're winning. We're going to go down there. We're going to take it. Everybody's having fun. And then ambush on a dragon. And I tell you, man, I don't know. I feel like Cersei probably has the upper hand going into next week. I don't know. We got 2 episodes left. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm intrigued, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what happens. We are just down to 2 left, man. This roller coaster is moving. So those are all of my spoiler-filled thoughts about last night's episode of Game of Thrones. I really, really dug it. It just gave such wonderful moments to so many of our characters. And then every time they gave us something, they took something away from us. And it leaves you in this place where at the end of the episode, you're just like, ah. But the question is, did you ever get there? How are you feeling, man? What did you think of the 4th episode of Game of Thrones coming off of the long night? Did this episode meet your expectations? Did it do a good job in setting us up for what's next to come? Did you think it was one of the better episodes of the season? What was your favorite part? Were you scared? Were you happy? Were you laughing? Were you crying? Leave all that down below in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you want to come join along in all my cinema sit-down adventures, and, be here for all of my Game of Thrones talk, go hit that subscribe button and then the little bell that follows so you can get alerts every time I make a new video. For the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, 4 episodes in, only 2 to go on Game of Thrones. I'm the Seaman. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, if you aren't still here, looking for something else to check out that's Seaman related, why don't you check out a video like this guy or this guy? And if you really want to help the Seaman out in year 2, hit that subscribe button and come join the Cinema Sit Down Squad, kids. You know what to do. See ya.